Hong Kong is the world's most vertical city. It's home to more skyscrapers than anywhere else. Cities like Dubai build skyscrapers for publicity, but in Hong Kong, it's a necessity. Simply put, there isn't a lot of space. Land is scarce and expensive. The only choice developers here have is to build upwards. Hong Kong has 482 skyscrapers that are taller than 150 meters, and many of them cost more than $1 billion to build. Hong Kong's tallest building, the International Commerce Center, cost $3.5 billion to construct. Skyscrapers in Hong Kong are worth about $8,000 per square foot. That's 60% more than skyscrapers in Tokyo. Here's a look at why Hong Kong has so many skyscrapers. The sheer number of skyscrapers in Hong Kong is astounding. It's hard to believe that there are so many buildings packed into such a small space. Many cities in mainland China have the benefit of being built on vast swaths of land, but developers in Hong Kong don't have that luxury. To say Hong Kong is cramped would be an understatement. The city has more than 42,000 buildings and approximately 9,000 are high-rises taller than 25 meters. The entire city covers a surface area of just 1,106 square kilometers, and there's only about 200 square kilometers of flat land left that's suitable for construction. It's easy to see why residential and commercial real estate in this city is so expensive. Hong Kong has a population density of 6,555.3 people per square kilometer, and many of the city's residents live in notoriously small living spaces. Hong Kong's most populated high-rise district, Tong, has up to 55,200 people per square kilometer. Limited space means that Hong Kong's skyline is constantly changing. Skyscrapers are regularly demolished and replaced with taller and more expensive ones. Because of this, historic buildings in the city are incredibly rare. So just how many skyscrapers does Hong Kong have? Well, that depends on your definition of skyscraper. Skyscraper used to be a building with 10 to 20 stories. Now the term usually applies to buildings that have at least 40 stories. Some architects classify a skyscraper as a multi-story building that's taller than 100 meters, but others say a building must be over 150 meters tall to be classified as a skyscraper. Whatever definition you use, one thing is for certain. Hong Kong has a ridiculous amount of skyscrapers, the most in the world by any definition. Hong Kong has more than 4,000 skyscrapers taller than 100 meters and 482 taller than 150 meters. There are also 26 skyscrapers taller than 150 meters that are currently under construction. New York only has 290 skyscrapers taller than 150 meters, while Dubai has 215 skyscrapers taller than 150 meters. These numbers are making my brain hurt. 1973 was the year that Hong Kong's modern skyline began to take shape. That's the year Jardine House officially opened at 179 meters tall. It's the first skyscraper in Hong Kong to top the 150-meter mark. It remained the tallest building in Hong Kong for just 8 years. In 1980, the Hopewell Center became Hong Kong's tallest building. Jardine House is still standing, but who knows for how long. The skyscraper's iconic circular windows and modernist design make it an appealing part of Hong Kong's skyline, but it's already aging. It's actually the fourth iteration of Jardine House and was built for about $18,589,744 Hong Kong dollars. That's unadjusted for inflation, of course. A fifth generation would undoubtedly cost billions. Practically all of Victoria Harbour is lined with expensive skyscrapers, and the high-rise buildings stretch all the way to the mountainous peaks just beyond Hong Kong. The city's skyline is iconic thanks to skyscrapers like the $3.5 billion International Commerce Center. It's the tallest skyscraper in Hong Kong at a height of 490 meters. The Sky 100 observation deck on the 100th floor offers stunning views of the city, and the richest travelers in the world opt to stay at the Hong Kong Ritz Carlton, which occupies floors 102 to 118. Hong Kong's second tallest building, Two International Finance Center, stands 420 meters tall. The skyscraper is so massive that back in 2003, the Financial Times, HSBC, and Cathay Pacific plastered an advertisement on the side of the skyscraper that stretched 50 stories. Today, huge billboards on high-rise buildings are commonplace in Hong Kong, and Victoria Harbour comes to life at night thanks to spectacular light shows. Hong Kong's skyscrapers are impressive during the day, but at night they seem even more futuristic. In 2001, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority paid 3.7 billion Hong Kong dollars for floors 77 to 88 of Two International Finance Center. The deal also included floors 55 and 56. Hong Kong's Central Plaza, which is the city's third tallest skyscraper, was completed in 1992 at a cost of $143 million. That might not seem like a lot of money, but that's just the construction costs. The land itself cost about $430 million. That's the way it goes in Hong Kong. Land is ridiculously expensive, which means building a skyscraper in Hong Kong today for less than $1 billion is virtually impossible. Developers sometimes face major hurdles when building skyscrapers in Hong Kong. Nina Tower is Hong Kong's sixth tallest building at a height of 320 meters. but it was supposed to be much taller. Developers originally planned for Nina Tower to be 518 meters tall, but blueprints had to be revised because of the skyscraper's proximity to Chek Lap Kok Airport. Developers managed to save some money by reducing the skyscraper's height, revising the tower's design, brought costs down to $1.28 billion. Oh, that's it? It's no surprise that Nina Tower costs more than $1 billion because the skyscraper houses a 1,608-room premium hotel, a shopping mall, and a convention center. Hong Kong skyscrapers are not built on a traditional grid. They zig and zag and are bunched together in an odd fashion. This isn't exactly the most eco-friendly approach to city planning. Hong Kong's high-density design has resulted in an urban canyon. As hot as Hong Kong is, it's even hotter when you're sandwiched in between massive skyscrapers. Residents turn up their air conditioners to beat the heat and release warm air outside, which makes things even hotter. The vicious cycle continues as residents crank up the AC even more. Hong Kong's buildings account for 90% of the city's electricity usage and approximately 60% of its greenhouse gas emissions. It's a serious problem, and that's why Hong Kong skyscrapers are becoming more eco-friendly. Take the International Commerce Center, for example. It's equipped with a high-tech network of sensors that monitors the building's lighting, elevators, air conditioning units, and escalators. Data is sent to the property team, who can then quickly shut down parts of the skyscraper when they're not being used in order to save energy. There are also plans to install solar panels and wind turbines on the roof. The International Commerce Center is also reportedly considering a battery system that could be used to store renewable power. Vegetables could even be grown underneath solar panels. And what better place for urban farming than Hong Kong? Urban gardens are already commonplace on the rooftops of the city's high-rises. One Taikoo Place is another one of Hong Kong's sustainable skyscrapers. The $1.54 billion high-rise is extremely eco-friendly. Its energy intensity is approximately 29% lower than the standard Hong Kong office building, thanks to an AI system that analyzes data and automatically optimizes energy efficiency. Its AI system saves as much as $387,000 in electricity costs every year. Developers can't keep building up forever, so that's why Hong Kong is thinking outside the box. The ocean used to be a barrier for Hong Kong, but things might change in the future. The city is building an $80 billion artificial island on 1,000 hectares of reclaimed land. The plan is to build 260,000 residential units on the artificial island, and 70% of those residential units will be used for public housing. That means Hong Kong will be getting even more high-rises in the near future. Hong Kong's artificial island could house as many as 1.1 million people, but there are risks. Building an artificial island off the coast of Hong Kong could disrupt the habitat of the endangered pink river dolphin. The solution is a $127 million conservation fund, but some critics say that might not be enough. Here's a fun fact. If we didn't give you enough fun facts right there, did you know that Shenzhen, China is poised to overtake Hong Kong as the skyscraper capital of the world? It has 297 skyscrapers over 150 meters, which is the second most in the world. And there are 81 skyscrapers taller than 150 meters that are currently under construction in the city. Its tallest building, the 599-meter-tall Ping An Finance Center, cost $1.5 billion to build. Even more impressive is the International Center. The $8 billion skyscraper will stand 700 meters tall when it's completed in 2024. That's it, folks. Thanks for watching.